again from Green Island Gardens. What better than to be out in the garden on a lovely February bright sunny morning, enjoying the scents of the beautiful Daphnes. This one is Daphne bholua. Daphne bholua Jacqueline Postil is the actual hybrid, but Daphne bholua is the Nepalese paper plant. It was used for many thousands of years. It's been used to make lokta paper in the Himalayas, and it's the traditional paper that has been used for government secure documents and secret service papers, things that they're medical records that they don't want to lose, because it makes paper that is so resistant to damp and mildew and sun and all these things. So it actually has a functional use as well as producing this beautiful scent for us. But Daphne bholua is one of my favourite plants. In fact, it would definitely be in the top 3. It's such a good plant because it's evergreen. It grows a nice, neat, upright habit. It flowers for 3 months in the spring, the early spring. Usually I can cut a few sprigs at Christmas and it will still be going at the end of March. It's excellent for wildlife. This beautiful scent attracts lots of insects over a long, long period of time. The flowers cut and you can bring them inside, and its only drawback, if it has one at all, is that it tends to go through a leaf drop after flowering, sort of end of March, April, when the leaves will go a little bit of a yellowy colour, a certain amount of them, and they will fall. So for about a month it looks a little bit untidy, but for the rest of the year it's absolutely superb. Daphnes do get a press for being quite tricky to grow. They can grow themselves and quite quickly and flower themselves to death. Through no fault of your own, lots of people will complain that they've planted Daphnes, spent a lot of money on them, and they've flowered for a few years and then they've lost them. Don't be discouraged, it's not you. They are prone to doing this, but in my experience, the bholuas are the easiest ones to grow, and they're least likely to fall over and die after a few years. In fact, if you're lucky and they're happy where they're growing, you might even be able to see round the corner here where this one, if Charlotte comes with me, is throwing up a few suckers. And you see just over the wall here, and these can be dug up and made into new plants. This is a lovely hybrid of Daphne bholua. Daphne hybrida Spring Herald it's called, and it's actually a hybrid between Daphne bholua and Daphne acutiloba. Acutiloba has a slightly more compact habit, so you can see this one hasn't grown quite so tall, but it has these beautifully scented flowers. Not quite as strong, I would say, as the previous one, Daphne bholua Jacqueline Postil, but nevertheless absolutely beautiful, and a really pretty creamy pinky coloured flower from a slightly pink tinged bud. But excellent for a really darker corner. Now these Daphnes do prefer to be planted in part shade, I would say. They like a moist but well-drained soil, so they don't like to dry out in the summer, and they don't like to be waterlogged in winter. Once they're established, they're actually really drought resilient, resistant, so that's not so much of a problem. But long term, if they're going to be in an area that will be waterlogged in the winter, they really won't like that. They're also not good in pots, so much better to plant them out in the garden. Sarah Raven once said, well, she was quoted as having said, you should never be able to walk more than 30 yards in a garden without smelling a Daphne. And I would agree with that 100%. So it is one of my ambitions to have Green Island, the 20 acres of it, that you can never walk more than 30 yards without being able to smell one. So we are propagating lots of the Daphne Jacqueline Postil and planting those around, but having discovered that there are more hybrids and more cultivars of Daphne bholua, I've started a bit of a collection. So I'll show you some of those now. This is another pretty hybrid, relatively easy to find. This one is Daphne Spring Herald. It's a hybrid of bholua and surrey, which is a very close relative of bholua anyway, so the habit is more like a typical bholua. Flower heads are not quite as large, I would say, as the true bholuas, but very pretty and still got that lovely, lovely scent. Now this is another lovely cultivar from Junker's Nursery. This is the one that's called Daphne bholua Purple Pillar, and they named it because it grows in this upright pillar shape. The leaves I notice are slightly narrower on it, but the flowers, this gorgeous, intense magenta colour, the buds, and then opening out to the pale pink flowers with that gorgeous scent. This is a more recent cultivar that I've acquired, at great expense I will say, but worth every penny. This one is called Daphne bholua Cobhay Purple Clouds. It's been bred at Junker's Nursery, and you can see how the flowers here are all forming, coming up the stem. The name of it, Cobhay Purple Clouds, was given before another hybrid that they bred at Junker's Nursery, which actually is called Cobhay Purple Pillar, and I think the name Purple Pillar would be far more appropriate for this one because the flowers do look like a pillar. But nevertheless, this one is called Purple Clouds. Beautiful, rich coloured flowers. And some of these ones do flower a little bit later than most the traditional boluas, the easily acquired ones. But this is definitely worth seeking out if you can get hold of it. This is just a perfect spot to sit and enjoy the intoxicating scent of the Daphne. This particular spot, I planted 3 of those Daphne bholua Jacqueline Postel, which incidentally was a cultivar that was raised by Alan Postel in 1981 and named after his wife, who was called Jacqueline. I think it's probably the best one to get. But I planted here 3 plants, you can see, and it absolutely loves this position. It's gone absolutely mad. It's produced this enormous tower. It's almost like a hedge now, but it just gives off the scent over such an enormous area. Allows me to cut huge branches and bring it into the house and enjoy the scent in there. There are a few other bholua cultivars that I haven't mentioned in this video. There's a lovely one called Gracilis Gurkha, which flowers earlier, flowers end of November into December. And the distinctive thing about that, apart from the flowers are slightly paler than this, is that it does tend to act more like a deciduous shrub, and it loses all its leaves, often meaning it flowers on the bare branches. So it does look quite different to these. There is another one that I've grown in the past called Daphne bholua Darjeeling, which again had really pale, delicate pink flowers, a beautiful cultivar. Did lose its leaves as well, but sadly we lost that in the drought in the last couple of really hot summers, not last summer, but the 2 before. And I haven't been able to replace it yet, but I'll keep on the lookout for it. But I hope this video has shown you that there are more Daphne bholuas to be sought out than just the plain old, well, I say plain old Daphne Jacqueline Postel, which is the best one. But if you've got room for them and Daphnes enjoy your site, then plant some more. You won't regret it. They are definitely one of the best plants you can have in your garden. Thank you once again for watching. Look forward to seeing you again on the next video. Please remember to like and subscribe.